Welcome to ChuckChat, May 18th. We got another full one here. Lots of information. Not one where there was huge banner results, but a lot of little things moved over the course of the last week that are significant if you look at them as trends and as where things are headed. So lots of things to dig into. So I'm just going to jump right into it and get rolling. The first one here is the operating layer arriving is probably a little bit of a strong, but there's a lot of tells around where it's coming, whether it's Google and some of the changes that they're doing. I'm excited about where some of these things are trending and heading. I think it's some early signs of where things are going to arrive and what we should be expecting over the course really of the next 6 months to a year. I think we're going to see some similar sorts of things from Apple as we do from Google. But I'm going to go ahead and we'll dive into some of the different story pieces here. So Google is the first one. They've had a number of different releases and things that they are rolling out. So they just had an event around Android, and in this event, they've updated phone information and they've updated a number of things around the what was the Chromebook, now a Google Book. And one of the things to take away from this is it's no longer the operating system, it's the intelligence system. And while that sounds like marketing hoo-ha, what they're really trying to do, and they're pulling this apart, is to take some of the artificial intelligence things that are going to be services, of course, Gemini behind the scenes for any of the Google things, and being able to then have it power the actions that you have on your phone, on your computer, on any of the devices that you have. And this goes so far as like even a new smart pointer, which is sort of this meta pointer that goes between different devices and almost gestures instead, going beyond the just launch an app to launch actions, check in with those actions. And so we're seeing the interface really evolve in real time with these sorts of things and these sorts of changes. Other significant things that popped out this week are similar and show more trend in this, but this is the one that I think is going to hit the most average people, the most people, because there's a lot of people who have Google phones, who have Android on their phone, and this is one of the first places they'll really get to experience a agency with their AI. ChatGPT inserting itself into the financial layer. So this is not replacing a financial analyst. It's not replacing your financial advisor or your tax accountant, but it integrating with 12,000 financial institutions now. They're working through Intuit support here shortly. But this is something where you can start to see they're building that ecosystem of knowledge around data, around finances, showing what your goals are, being able to then have that show up in further conversations about what you want to do. You're not just Q&A, but reporting and pictures and all of those other cool things. This is going to be, I think, disruptive to some of the personal finance areas. Now, they're clear that they're not keeping this information, they're not training it off of it, etc. But I think this is one where you're going to see more and more things like this, and this is some of the features that people do want to be able to abstract some of that and pull it through. Another one, and each of them had many different releases, but these were the ones that I thought were some of the more significant ones. So Claude for small business. Now this is not like a special version of Claude. It is a package with a set of ready to run agents, workflows, and integrations that are really intended to help small business be able to do the things that it needs to do, from payroll to invoices to chasing invoices, and making sure that they're getting paid. These are real things that can help real people be able to make a difference. And so that's really what they're targeting for these sorts of items, along with some of the other finance and other different integrations. It's the weekly, what are they pushing into next? Codex now on the phone. If you've been a user of Codex and the evolution there, as they're putting more and more features into Codex, this is something that's been in some of the other different tools for a while now. For Claude Code, the ability to launch remotely or get to yes, please go forward and do what it is that I asked you to do on your phone while you're wandering off. Because a lot of times these agents can run for a very long time. Anybody who's using Codex, this is a godsend feature. you can actually be out and pretending to be social, and at the same time being able to keep your code going and keep your agents going, or launch tasks and move those things forward. So it's not that it's you're coding on your phone, but it's being able to use that interface wherever it is that you are. So again, this ties back to that Gemini thing of the making the intelligence available and being able to access your control device into many different locations is really what the future is coming about. So this one, 1.3 million a month is what they're spending on OpenClaw development because it's all agentic. There are 3 people who are working, and the rest of it is agents, like 100 different AI agents, all coding, taking PRs, doing all the different tasks, checking things, testing things, etc. So the 1.3 million sounds amazing, and it really is amazing. This is just in token spend, and there Peter in the article talks about how actually they could reduce it very dramatically, like 70% less to like 30% of the cost if they weren't running the fast version and the high versions. But they're really trying to use this as sort of a research experiment to say, okay, in a virtual software development company, how fast could they go? What could they do? What are the limits around that part? But the 603 billion tokens, I have spent a lot of tokens, but that is a crazy amount. Which I'm not spending 1.3 million either, so I guess that probably makes sense. So the very interesting and practical, and one of the software products that's one of the most popular hot topics out there in OpenClaw and its ecosystem. So in case you are wondering what it took to be able to do that, it is not an army of people, it is an army of bots. Not really a surprise for the army of bots guy. Thinking Machines, this is the Mira Murati startup. Or she's the one who's probably the most known. There's people now from Google, from Anthropic, from XAI who have all joined this company. Up until recently, their most significant announcement was really a training ecosystem for businesses to be able to train some of their own information inside of it. This is a preview, so this is not actually available yet, but it provides some signs of what they're actually trying to do, which is really to build a better work integrated system. And so there's several different examples. You can check them all out. There's a YouTube there, and you can see the things that they're doing. But really short delay where it can interrupt you. It will translate almost in real time. So while you're talking, it's translating to another language to be able to talk, which is some of the needs of real business. A number of other different things. It's differentiating than where some of the other different ones are. Even the labs that are out there that are at the frontier. This is a different tack and a different interaction modality really than many of the others, which is why it's really the most interesting. So the next bit is around the platform, right? Everybody wants control of what's going to happen with the AI. They want control of I've talked about this bit before too, in terms of the frame where things are going to run, the packaging around it, the ecosystem in which the different tools go, the all of those types of things are becoming even more and more important now. And so this one was one of the first ones, and this is, don't overread into it or underread into it. This is Ramp's report on and it's things through their payment system. So it's credit cards and those sorts of things that are running through there, which means business people who are spending on one versus another. It's not everyone. It's not a full system inventory. But for the first time, we see Anthropic passing OpenAI in terms of expensed accounts, basically expensed information as it's going through. OpenAI fell to 32.3%, but this also shows like how long have they had that lead? It's been very impressive. But with Claude code and the number of things and the inroads that it has been making, now we're starting to see a signal here. But it is just a signal. It's worth noting just from a who is winning the hearts and minds of businesses and where those different capabilities are showing up in a meaningfully actionable way. So worth noting, not over indexing on the AI talent war. So this one is I combined several different articles for this particular slide because it's not, the story is not just layoffs. I mean, we're seeing some layoffs from Meta. They're laying off 8,000 people. There's 6,000 jobs that they are not going to fill. That's significant. That's a good chunk of folks. At the same time, you've got protests over the mouse tracking thing that they're rolling out because they're trying to be able to build better training information. But we're also seeing investments and hiring and top end hiring from an AI trainer and an AI researcher point of view, and so we're seeing kind of this shift to from one to another. It's something that I think we're going to continue to see as companies refine. Well, now what, and where do we focus, and what's the things that we need to be able to do. I also didn't want to lose sight of the thread that we're continuing to see people bailing from XAI. I don't know what exactly is going on there. We've seen all the various founders, other than Musk, leave. We've seen them now sell the one data center effectively off to Anthropic, so they're doing all their things. They've said that it's not that big a deal because they've got the other one, which is where all their training things are going on. But there's a lot of refocus going on there. So I think that's one that we'll bear continue watching. Microsoft, this one is by itself is not a oh my goodness story, but the point it points to the desire for control and the desire for eat your own dog food, basically. So their own ecosystem of tools, they're getting rid of Claude code in some of the different divisions. So they're getting rid of the individual licenses. They're letting those drop, and they're pushing people towards their own GitHub Copilot. That's the frame that they want. That's the harness that they want people to be using. And it makes sense. If you're Microsoft, that makes sense. You want them to utilize your own tools so you can be getting that reinforcement and learning and building that harness up to be better and better. And so this is interesting. They're not getting rid of Claude as a model. They'll still, and they use one of the ways to be able to access that is through GitHub Copilot, and they're going to continue to be able to do that. But the frame, the ecosystem, the ability to then swap models behind it, that's really where they're trying to build that the meta war behind the wars. It's not just about the models. The evolution of uh, cyber defense, another set of things in there. I've talked regularly about what's going on with Mythos and Anthropic, but the Codex and OpenAI now have their own version of these sorts of things with Daybreak, where that's rolling out to be able to help folks. They're actually taking some of the things and they will do the scans. They'll bring it available. They'll give back different sets of results based upon usage within Codex, and is how it's actually getting exposed. If you're in the security field, these are the things that are well worth knowing where they're going. It's going for evidence heavy. It's going for repeatable loops, and it's still an agent being able to do some of that research, but within your code, and be able to bring those things up specifically to you to be able to remediate without necessarily making exposing more vulnerabilities. So it's an interesting way to be able to chase after that. I also just threw in here one of the ones that I thought was interesting, that Mythos found a Mac OS security vulnerability. They shared it with Apple. Apple's working it. This is kind of how a lot of these things are working now, where it's going to the different software companies, whether it's open source or whether it's a for-profit public company. They go there and they're continuing to work through those. All right. The continued chips and compute and the geopolitics of AI and tech and health is just extra gears this week. So I didn't want to spend the whole time. I probably could have spent the whole time on China and the U.S. and with the whole thing going on out there and the different meetings. There's lots of stories to be had. I just picked a couple of different ones. AI was one of the big focus. Not really a surprise that would be the case. Yeah, there's talk about, okay, how many chips would we be able to sell, Nvidia sell into China, and China is also still blocking actually the purchase of them, even though they're able to buy the 200s. They don't want to buy the 200s. They would rather have Huawei ones go forward, and so we're going to continue to see this pressure and this back and forth there. It is a national level imperative for both nations to be able to be a leader in AI, and so I think it's one that will continue to see wave after wave of change and impact from as well. So it's not just data centers; it's all the different things that are there. From who's got better lines on sight on power, and all the different ways that will actually show up. TSMC, tiny little Taiwan, one 1.5 trillion by 2030. I don't, this is almost from the Department of Non-News, because it's like all the trend lines are there. They have been growing slowly, purposefully, because when the in previous years, when the desire for chips has gone away, that's a big punch to the face. It's always been cyclical. It's always been a an up and down kind of a market, and so they've managed that very aggressively. And I mean, they've done a fantastic job. Like, they are who you think of for chips, the people who make chips. The TSMC is them. They're building out plants. They've got a plant running already in Arizona. They've got another one coming on before the end of this year. There's got 3 and 4 coming up here soon. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the U.S., not just in Taiwan, but they are the wafer and the fab people and the ones who look to build chips. And at the 1.5 trillion in chips, may actually, who knows, it may actually be a low number, given the pace at which everything is going through. All right, so AI compute for space. This is, I find space exciting, as covered by multiple other Chuck chats. You hear me talking about it on a somewhat regular basis. But so NASA has, this is a computer on a chip. And why this is exciting, they're building, it's able to run through deep space, it's able to handle interference. Historically, they've had to keep compute really fairly simple because there are just so many sources of interference, and the last thing you want is for any a compute piece to go bad or go wrong. And so their ability to be able to do this and then to be able to give more processing power to the devices themselves really enables more autonomy within the spaceships, within the capabilities of what it is that we're sending. And this can be important, especially if we're talking about longer ended missions. A little bit more about that and some of the other things that have that are being discovered as we go through the rest of this one. So trust, liability, human risk. This next piece is where we enter the world of health and drugs and humans. And there was a number of interesting things. You're going to start to think that I read too much mouse research, but it's a great sign of where things are coming. So ChatGPT, this from the Department of continue to watch what is happening in health and AI and the regulatory and responsibility requirements. Another suit against OpenAI. This is a really sad story. A 19-year-old died from an accidental overdose. They were asking questions about they were combining alcohol and various drugs and antidepressants and other different things. The ChatGPT's defense, and rightfully so, is we're very clear. This, you should consult a doctor. You should whatever. And the particular model that had that's now been retired. Waves of this are going to continue to come. It is not just OpenAI. They're just the immediate target. Anything that we're talking about with health and AI, where it is giving advice, is going to have to be really understood, and the advice and liability piece around it is going to be very important. I mentioned this one just because this people are researching this, and it is an important thing. Some of the factoids around, as people, there's been an influx of people over the age of 65 having overdoses on pot, basically on cannabis, and so the risks are increased because the efficacy of the drugs, the amount of drug in the drug, is gone up dramatically. So where it was between 1 and 4%, like 2% on average in the 70s, it is now 20% in most plants, 30% in some. And then when you talk into some of the different things like edibles and other different areas, you're talking 90% and higher. And so this has had a negative effect, if not coordinated with other things. So if someone is doing this, and there's many valid reasons to use cannabis in terms of treatment for pain, in terms of treatment for anxiety, or a number of other different areas, it is one where, just like, hey, don't just take the word of an AI for things. Talk to your doctor, understand what the actual ramifications are, what the interactions are, and so it's worth mentioning and just being aware of, because it has a very positive ecosystem around it in terms of capabilities, and one where we just need to be careful. This, I think, is exciting because of what it shows for long-term things. So what this study, and it's just one of those meta studies, a study of studies, so they bring together a bunch of different data to be able to find the different information. But they found that choline levels in people with anxiety are lower than the average population for folks who don't suffer from anxiety. And so why this is significant is not, hey, suddenly, hey, everybody should take a choline supplement. Although I know there is a trend around that now. This is not a go take a pill. This is understanding that there is a number of different things that are built into the human body that help to be able to do that. And choline is one of the ones where it is largely diet dependent. Our brain can make a certain amount of it, but it also depends upon what your diet is. And so understanding it's it's not just what you do or where you go or what treatments it is that you get. It is the full ecosystem around your gut, around your what you eat, around how you sleep, etc. That really matters for overall health. And so speaking of that, this one is exciting. They're doing some very interesting things in Norway. I mean, they've outlawed smoking. They've got a very health pro leader at the moment, and so a number of different studies like this are going out, and they're making sure that they get it out as far as possible to anyone in the populace. And one of the things historically that stops people from working out is it's so much, I can't go every single day. I've got to insert all the number of different excuses here, but this is showing significant statistical improvement with just 30 minutes spread throughout the week. So not just one 30-minute thing, but 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, enough to get it so that you're working hard enough that you are having difficulty breathing, so you've really pushed to that next level, has a statistically significant improvement to health. And so you don't have to be a full gym rat to be able to get there. Now, there shows the higher you go and various different places, it's the more impact that you can have. But even that bit is something that's important. So don't take that excuse. Go out and work out or do something every day, just at least a little bit. Biology space and the observer. I'm back to space again. So this is again in the world of mice. I love the way that this particular one is. Researchers studied gut luminal fecal exomes in mouse models, which is basically saying they studied rat poop. But it's really the exomes that are inside of the rat poop. And this is significant because what they found is that by taking some of the exomes from young and putting them into older, they were able to reverse some of the age-related metabolic things. And the same thing, the other way around, taking some of the aged ones and putting them in a younger one, it actually induced age-related things. So again, this is one of those things that it points to. It is an ecosystem that it's not just a singular thing, not take a pill, but it's understanding it reinforces, hey, part of your overall well-being is your gut, it's your sleep, it's your all of the different things that go through there. This one is also encouraging, also from the Department of still mice, not people, but they were able to boost mitochondrial activity in neurons. It's basically what the way to read this one is that what they found is that by providing additional energy to neurons, they were able to turn and reverse, in some cases, memory issues with the brain. And so, what is exciting about this is a lot of the research up until now has been based upon cellular death and those sorts of things. And this is an actionable thing where you could say, all right, if we can give more energy in there, it's an energy providing thing where we don't have enough energy going to the cells in the brain, and that's part of what causes these things. It's and if there's anything that we can do to be able to avoid cognitive impairment, I know that's top of mind for so many people. And again, it's part of the whole list of things. Back to the Department of Space, and this is where those chips matter, right? So this is a long-running mission, and this Psyche is going off to actually go to Psyche, a asteroid, it's flying a long mission, and they're actually using a space slingshot. So for those of us who are Star for Star Trek nerds, the slingshot move is a well-known move. Actually, almost any sort of sci-fi fan has that story in there somewhere. This is proof positive that it does work. They're actually using it for real. Uh, use the gravity of Mars to be able to slingshot it, to be able to get the right piece. Now, where this matters and where that tie-in back to chips goes is this is math that is redonkulously complicated, because if it's off by just a part of a degree, you're in the wrong place. Like you were talking millions and billions of miles away, if it's off. So really advanced math. The folks who are doing this is rocket science right here. All right, and then this one is exciting because it goes into the hidden plumbing of the universe. People, you've probably heard the term of like a nursery, a star nursery, but we don't really get to see it very often because a lot of times the gas that moves around, the things that are going through, it's not really visible. So what's exciting about this particular one is they were able to actually see web filaments going together, not just the assumption or based upon math, being able to see some of it. And it's about 3 billion light years between the space inside of there. So very exciting to be able to see and get a little bit better understanding of how that gas works, how the dark matter actually interacts with it, and confirm some different items about theory and how things work. And from the Department of really effective and positive use of AI, this is my last storyline for the day. In South Korea, they developed this with basically a set of rings where it will, in real time or very near real time, be able to translate sign language, to be able to put it into other languages and be able to share that part out. So a very practical thing. It's actually in not just from an interaction point of view, not just human to human, but human into a computer, being able to do different other things as well. So very exciting to see some of the development there and the way that it can work. So the storyline continues. It's not just science. It's not just AI or health or tech. The platform is continuing to evolve. That frame and the ecosystem around it matters, and the frame and the ecosystem matters. The architecture around all those things matter, whether you're talking about science and AI or whether you're talking about your own health and well-being. So remember that. Hopefully this has been useful or at least entertaining. If so, hit the thumbs up button. I do appreciate it. And hit the subscribe and hit the little bell if you want to get alerts whenever I publish some of this nonsense.